McGraw-Hill Professional presents The Turnkey Revolution: How to Passively Build Your Real Estate Portfolio for More Income, Freedom, and Peace of Mind. Written by Christopher D. Clothier. Narrated by Alan Sklar. Introduction. The Turnkey Revolution begins. It was a Thursday night in the fall of 2003, and Kent Clothier Sr. had just finished speaking at the monthly meeting of the Memphis Investors Group at the Home Builders Association building. It was a typical real estate investing group that met monthly, and they were constantly looking for speakers to share insights, stories, tips, and sometimes sell DIY programs. He was invited to speak by the group for one reason. He was an action taker. He wasn't interested in hanging out for donuts and coffee at the monthly meetings. In fact, a favorite saying of his in business was that he didn't have time for the donut eaters. He was interested in meeting who he needed to meet, learning what he needed to learn, and getting down to business. It was a normal talk for him, and an uneventful evening that was about to get turned upside down. After the meeting, he was approached by a small group of listeners who wanted to pick his brain on how they, too, could get started. Only this group had a very specific question. They were airline pilots at Federal Express there in Memphis, and found themselves without knowledge and barely enough time to invest in real estate. What they did have was the means and desire to invest in real estate, and a pretty good idea that owning long-term rental properties passively was a good way to grow the money they had and build additional income. The question they had for him was, would he help them build their portfolios? Would he help find properties for them, use his renovation connections and crews to fix the properties, and then hand them off to his property management team? Kent Sr. spent the next few minutes asking them what they were looking for and exactly what they expected. He explained that he would want to make an income for putting in his time and expertise. He expected to make a profit for doing the work. They all agreed that they expected him to make a profit. After all, they said, why would we want to go into business with someone who didn't want to make a profit? They left the meeting that night agreeing to meet later in the week. A few days later, on the back of a restaurant napkin, Kent Sr. laid out the blueprint for a new company. The blueprint for a company that would excel at finding great investment properties, renovating them to a high standard so they were in demand, and providing a new style of property management, a style focused on attracting and satisfying the needs of residents. A customer service company that would happen to be in the real estate investing business. A restaurant napkin isn't quite big enough to hold a lot of details, but it was big enough to hold a revolutionary idea. Kent Clothier Sr. happens to be my dad, and he happened to be laying out the details of what would become the Turnkey Revolution. A foot in the door. Everyone is interested in real estate. Our culture loves the idea of real estate investing. We devour stories about people who went from rags to riches flipping houses. We watch episode after episode of renovation reality shows on TV, a quick half hour from wreck to rental property. Real estate investing is glamorous. Real estate investing is easy to talk about, but it's more complicated than it looks. The deeper you go into real estate, the uglier it seems to get behind the scenes.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?